We're going to talk about the standard today, okay? Every man has a standard for his life. Every man has a standard for his life. But the life that you live will eventually reflect the standard that you tolerate. Sometimes that standard is strong. Sometimes that standard is weak. I want to talk about one thing tonight, gents. It's not your goals. It's not your intentions. It's not what you said that you wanted. It's your standard. That's what we're going to build. By the time this lesson is over, you're going to have a strategy to build out what your standard is in your life. Because for many of you, that's your problem. Is you don't know where you're going. I was having this conversation with my 14-year-old daughter today. She doesn't know where she's going yet. I say, hey, listen, young lady, what do you want to be when you grow up? Well, I don't know. Okay, no worries. I got you. But what do you want? What kind of life do you want to live? What does it look like for you? I don't know. That's okay. At the end of the day, I use an analogy like getting on an airplane. You get on a plane, no matter if it's a farmer who's got a plane in the backyard, like the movie Pearl Harbor, or if it's an airport, or if it's whatever, anybody gets in a plane, checks the fuel, checks the safety gadgets, and they have a plan. They know where it's going, how much fuel they got, and when they got to get back on the ground. They know that. No plane takes off without a plan. You need to have a plan for your life. You need to have a standard for your life. And there's 5 areas we're going to cover specifically. Okay. Now, every man has a standard. You're already living one. You have a standard in your marriage. You have a standard in your body. You have a standard for what you look at. You have a standard for how you speak. You have a standard for your relationship with God. You have a standard for how hard you work. You have a standard for what you tolerate from yourself. And whether or not you've ever sat down and deliberately chosen that standard or not, whether or not that was a reality for you, whether or not that's something that you personally have done, the standard is the standard. And honestly, some of you got that standard from your dad. Some of you got that standard from your mom. Some of you got that standard from the streets, from foster care. Some of you got that standard from corporate America, right? But here's a question I have for you. What have you decided, right? Because men say things all the time. I get about 150 men per day, maybe 200 men per day in my DMs. It's exhausting. It's actually nauseating. People don't understand what it's like to be me. When a man reaches out to me, it's one man that reaches out to me. So he thinks it's just him and me. But it's actually me and 150 men just like him. You guys don't realize that. And what I'm going to tell you here, it's nauseating. The amount of men that come to my inbox, say, I want help. I need help. I'm ready to do something. And they do nothing. They do nothing about their problems. It's crazy. You guys here did something. A small thing, but you did something, and that matters. Men say it all the time. I want to get in shape. I want a better marriage. I want to stop watching pornography. I want to get closer to God. I want to become a better father. I want to be more disciplined. Those are good desires. But wanting something does not mean very much. Everybody wants something better. The question is, what have you decided? There's a massive difference between wanting something and then deciding something. Wanting says, I hope this changes. A decision says that this is no longer acceptable. Wanting says, I need to get serious. A decision says, this is how I'm going to live now. I will no longer tolerate this from myself. I was having this conversation with Debbie at the table. She's like, well, men struggle with lust and they're struggling with pornography. I'm like, these are all true things. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to a man's decisions. The things you choose. You choose that. You choose to keep doing it. You choose. See, some of you have spent years waiting, wanting, building things, dreaming about things that you have this elaborate idea, but you still have not decided to do it. And that's the problem. The decision was not made. And there's a difference between choices and decisions. Choices, joining the foundation where you're at right now, that's a choice. Because you could cancel your membership as soon as this call's over. I don't like it. $27.89 a day is too much for my personal development. And then you cancel it. That's fine. That's a choice. This whole program is a choice. You know why? Because you can change your mind. But a decision is when you burn the ships behind you. A decision saying, I'm all in, dude. There's nowhere else to go but forward. I will go forward or I will die. That's it. That's a decision. So your life is revealing your standard. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at your own life without making excuses for a minute. Think about yourself. Think about internally your life. Think about it. Think about your relationship. Think about your kids. Think about your job, your career, your business, your lack thereof. Just think about it for a second. I don't want you to look at what you intend to do. I want you to look at the actual reality that came out of what you intended. Because one thing I know for sure is that most of you are not where you intended to be in one way or another. You could be on here, be a multi-millionaire and still be falling short with lust. You could be on here and be the greatest dad in the world, but when you close the door at the end of the day and you're in the bathroom by yourself, you're still masturbating. You could be the greatest husband in the world, but every once in a while you're angry against the best and you snap. You could be a nice guy to your boss, nice guy to the stranger, nice guy to the police officer when he pulls you over. But then as soon as you get home, you unload on the dog. You unload on the wife. You unload on the kids. Right? Look at who you actually are. Because the truth is, your behavior exposes what you have been willing to tolerate. Somewhere in your life, something has been permitted. Pornography, anger, lack of discipline, gluttony. You may hate it. You may be ashamed of it. You may genuinely want freedom from it. But if nothing changes after the failure, then you're still tolerating the environment that produces it. The same thing physically. A man says, I hate being out of shape. Okay. Well, here's a question. What time did you train this week? What did you eat this week? What did you drink this week? How much did you sleep? What did you actually do? Because wanting a better body while continually maintaining the habits that created the current body is not a plan. Marriage is the same. Man says, I love my wife. I love my wife. Drop a one in the chat if you're married and you love your wife. Drop a one in the chat if you're married and you love your wife. One. Look at you guys. Love it, right? Me too. One, right? I believe you. I believe you. But let me ask you this. How do you speak to her? How quickly can you become disrespectful? How much time do you actually give her? Do you listen to her? Are you faithful to her with your body and with your eyes? Do you keep your promises? Can she trust what version of you is going to walk through the door? Love is more than what you feel. Your standard is what governs your behavior when feelings are inconvenient. Jesus said in the book of Matthew chapter 7 that you're going to know them. You'll recognize them by their fruit. That's what it all comes down to, guys. Their fruit. What are you producing? Fruit tells the truth. You can call a tree whatever you want. Eventually, the fruit tells us what kind of tree it is. You can say, hey, it's an apple tree, but if oranges come out of it, right? Hey, it's an apple tree, but there's pears. Same with a man's life. Your habits, they tell the truth. I look at a man's calendar. I'll look at a man's calendar. Let me show you something here. You want to see my calendar? Look at my calendar. Look at my calendar. I go to any given month. Every day is packed. Every day. I don't stop. I sit here all day. Let me see your calendar. Is it packed with, and look, if you don't have clients, if you don't have jobs, is it packed with goals? 10 o'clock, do this. 12 o'clock, work on that. 2 o'clock, work on this. Build a plan. Right? Like you have to think, like I'm telling you, your bank account tells the truth. Your internet history tells the truth. The condition of your marriage, right? Gentlemen, that doesn't mean that your current life is permanent, right? What we're talking about here is it means that you need to be willing to look at it without lying to yourself. You got to see where you're at because you cannot establish a higher standard while constantly defending a lower one. You can't get to a higher standard while defending a lower standard. You can't tear down the strong to build the weak. You can't tear down the wage payer to build the wage earner. You have to look at it for what it is, and you have to work toward the goal. Like at some point, you need to decide whether you're going to stay that way or do something about it, right? So we can't confuse failure with permission. Now, what am I saying here, right? I'm going to let you in on a secret. Everyone write this in your books. Just like this. I am going to fail. Write that down. I am going to fail. Because that's the truth. You are going to fail. I promise you, you're going to fail. I'm going to fail. We all fail. Every man in this room is going to fail somewhere. You will have weak moments. You will say things you regret. You will miss workouts. You'll miss classes. You're going to make bad decisions still. You're going to need forgiveness. You're going to need forgiveness. Bro, this is perfect. This is perfect. You're going to fail. But here's the good news. Literally. Here's the good news. Literally. Gentlemen, you're going to fail. But Jesus tells us in 2 Corinthians that his grace is good enough. His grace is sufficient. And that is in our weakness where his true power is shown. We're going to fail. That's the point. You will need God. Guess what, guys? That's not a weakness. That's reality. That's how we're built. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. That's how we learn to love God. That's how we learn to need God. That's how we learn to rely on God. That's how we learn to build ourselves after all these failures. We come back stronger. We get knocked down 7 times. We get back up 8. Okay, right? Proverbs chapter 24 says, "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." Notice what the righteous man does. You might say, he gets up. Yes, but I want you to understand that the righteous man falls before he gets up. Understand that part. That's the part no one likes to hear. Yes, he gets up. Like, yeah, Rocky. Right? But he falls first. That's the part that sucks. And you got to remember there's still a rise to come, right? So he does not build a house where he fell, though. He doesn't decorate the place. Les Brown says, if you could look up, you can get up. Okay? So understand that failure is a part of it. You own it. You apologize. You correct. We move on, right? So the question is, what is the standard that you have for your failure? Men have a tendency to adjust expectations downward until their current behavior looks acceptable. And this is where things become dangerous for you guys. Because eventually you can justify almost anything. That you'll say things like, I don't really drink that much. Well, I only watch pornography occasionally. Guys do this to me all the time. When I'm like, hey, how's this going? Oh, it was like one time. It's not really a big deal, right? Hey, I'm not that overweight. Hey, I'm losing weight. I'm not that overweight. Or, hey, I pray sometimes. Or my kids, my kids know I love them. Is that the standard that God's calling us to be at? Right? We know that we cannot merely listen to the word, because if we do just listen to the word, we're deceiving ourselves. We have to do what it says, right? So understand, knowledge has to become action, gents. That's the point of what we're talking about in this particular moment. Knowledge has to become action. There's a point where hearing another sermon at church will not change you. There's a point where coming to another class with Max Dutton is not going to change you. There's a point where another YouTube video, another self-help book, another, freaking $800 to some personal trainer is not going to help you unless you do the thing. Right? So let's think about the standard for ourselves here. All right. Now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about tonight. You're going to have a little bit of a homework assignment at the end of this class. As you're going, I'm going to teach you here, jot down some notes, right? There are areas in your life, 3 of them in particular, that I want to hit, okay? Your eyes, your body, and your mouth, okay? The standard for yourself with your eyes, your body, and your mouth. Your eyes. Let's start with pornography and lust. Drop a 1 in the chat if you've ever struggled with pornography and or lust. Let me put my 1 in there, right? Let me put my 1 in the chat. Of course. See, men complicate this because they want loopholes. They'll say things like, technically, I wasn't watching pornography. It's just Instagram. I didn't search for it. It just came across my feed. I only looked for a second. Brother, you know when you're feeding your lust, guys. You know. So we got to stop pretending that we got to stop lying to ourselves. Jesus said in Matthew 5:28, anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in her heart. You guys hear me preach about this all the time. We got to be cautious with that, right? That's such a high standard that God put on there. Why? Because purity, it is not simply about whether you physically touch somebody. It begins with what you deliberately entertain. I personally believe, based on the fact that in Ephesians 5, where we have to love our wives the way Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, where Christ loves us, we love Christ. We have to love our wives the way. We have to live in such a way that our marriage is it's a representation. It's a mirror of the relationship that we have with God. It's a mirror. So then if we're watching pornography and we're in sexual immorality, well, then we're telling God, hey, screw you. Right? Hey, I know you love me, but I don't really like the let me like imagine somebody creating like a statue perfectly that looks just like you. It looks just like you, Eric. It looks just like you, bro. And then all of a sudden they punch it and they break it with a hammer and they say, I hate you. Right? You're like, yo, what? Like, you're like, that's weird. They're not hurting you, but they're essentially telling you, if I could, I would. That's what we say to God, I think, every single time we lust, every single time we cheat, or every time we watch pornography. Like, think about what Job said. Job said, I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman. A covenant, a decision, a line. Like, Job didn't say, I'm going to reduce how much I look at her. I'm going to do my best. He said, I'm making a covenant. I'm not doing it anymore. Hey, all my guys who are in Genesis 90, you know what I mean by a covenant. Anybody who joins that elite brotherhood, they sign a legitimate contract saying, I am in a brotherhood. I am signing this because I will not look lustfully. I will protect the weak. I will defend my family. I will not be quick to anger. They're signing that covenant, a covenant that you make with yourself. I will not look lustfully. He's doing that. Temptation, failure, shame, right? A few good days, temptation, failure, shame, a promise. And then you repeat the same cycle for years. And at some point, change the structure, right? So like, for example, if your phone is a doorway, we got to change the phone. If Instagram's feeding it, fix Instagram, get rid of it. Okay? Whatever it is, right? If secrecy is keeping you trapped, look, I got clients, some of you guys, man, don't even know, bro. It gets bad. Dudes out here, they're not even feeding their families because they're stuck on OnlyFans girls. They see some chick on Instagram and she's super hot. And oh, dude, she's so hot. And then she's got that little link in her bio and you click it. It's like, oh, come join my OnlyFans. It's only $5 a month. And you get to see everything. Now you're like, well, I just want to see what she looks like real quick. So you paid it $5. And then you're like, wow, man. But this video, though, this thing's $25 for one. I'm like, it's just $25. Oh, I should have $50. And then all of a sudden, now you're having this emotional affair with this random woman online. And guess what happens? Next thing you know, you're flirting with the girl at work. Next thing you know, you're flirting with the girl at the grocery store. Next thing you know, you're flirting with the girl at the gym. Next thing you know, you're a cheater. Physically, emotionally, in all ways. You just destroyed your life. The Bible tells he who commits adultery destroys himself. Why? Because you're literally destroying your everything, your relationship. You're telling God you hate him. She's taking everything out of your life, dude. 50% of everything you got. Some of you guys already been through that, right? It sucks. Okay. Now let's talk about the second one. Is your body, right? This is not about every man needing abs, bro. I ain't got abs. I'm not one of them dudes. But because it's not about vanity, it's about stewardship. You get one body, but every single one of you is also a protector. You're a warrior for Christ. You got to remember that. And you're also an example. Maybe you have kids. You're an example for your kids. You learn. You serve to the body. You lead with that body. Like you are an example of what a Christian warrior looks like. 1 Corinthians chapter 6 says your bodies are temple of the Holy Spirit. And we need to honor God with our body. So the question is not, do I look good enough? The question is, am I taking responsibility for what I can control? Look, guys, like my average age for my clients and for my men in Genesis 90 is like 40. It's like 38, 40. So like that's the average. Some guys are older than that. Some guys are like, we got a couple guys in like the mid to late 20s. But on average, the guys are a little bit older. Injuries, illness, physical limitations, these things happen. It's not about that. What can we control? Do we move our body? Do we train? Today, I'm doing new types of workouts. I bought a big pack, and I'm going out there. I'm hiking, Marine Corps style humps, just going 10 miles. Boom. And actually, it was the most peaceful workout I've ever had in like forever. I'm doing work on my phone. I'm making day trades and losing a bunch of money, right? Where you at, Rich? You know what's up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm having a blast. I'm making content. I'm building classes. I'm doing all types of things. And I'm getting a good sweat and I'm locking in. I didn't have music playing or nothing. Just had headphones in. And I just, the sound deadening, I'm just locked in. Right? Are you doing what you can do? Because here's the thing. A lot of men will make excuses and they say they can't, right? Look, you can't wait till you feel motivated. Motivation's unreliable. Standards are useful because they remove negotiation. When you have a standard, it doesn't matter how you feel. And that's what I need you guys building tonight. And I'm going to break it down for you later. But you have to build that. Now we're going to cover the standard you have with your mouth, your communication, especially anger. This one matters because your family lives with the consequences of your emotional control or your lack of emotional control. This one affects most of you guys here. Some men think that strength means everybody in the house knows when dad is angry. That's not strength. Like, my family is well aware of who's in charge of this house. I'm not afraid to say it. I am the king of this house. What I say goes. I'll put my foot down. Period. Everyone will shut up and go away if I say leave to your room and disappear for the rest of the day. That's what they will do. Why? Because that is who I am. That's what I said. I've never said that to them. I've never raised my voice to them. I'm always in a good mood. I'm always thinking about the future, about our family. We have a vision board. We did an exercise with Genesis 90, or actually I think it was with this class like a couple months ago. We built a vision board, and that's still up on the wall in the living room. That's the kind of dad I am. That's the kind of husband I am. And I'm not saying I'm better than you. I used to be the dude to rip doors off. I used to be the dude to punch holes in walls. Sometimes I still feel that urge, especially with like business not working as well as I want, my job, my career. For those of you who don't know, I'm an active duty Marine. I am an active duty. I got to deal with stupid people all day, right? I'm just like, gosh, I just want to get out of here, right? Like, I'm telling you, I still get those urges, but it's about self-control. The Bible tells us that it's better to be one in self-control than the one who can take a city. Not to say we shouldn't be able to take a city. It's just saying it's better to be this guy than to be that guy. Not that that guy's bad, right? You have to be able to understand that two things can exist at once. Book of James chapter 1 also tells us that we need to be quick to listen and slow to speak and slow to become angry. Because human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires. That last part is key. What if every time you got angry, the things that you were expecting from your family, what if every time you got angry, the things that God wanted for you, you were blocking them for a period of time? It's like, like if you ever played a video game online and you like start cursing at people in the chat, it might mute you like for like a couple days. It's like that. What if every time you got angry, God just muted you for a couple days? Where you say, hey, you're not ready for the blessing yet. That's what the Bible says. Your human anger does not produce the righteousness that God desires from you. Slow to speak. Not every thought needs to come out of your mouth. Another one too is your language. It's not what goes into a man's mouth that defiles him, but what comes out of his mouth that defiles him. This was a big thing for me. Cursing. And you know what? Some people may say, oh, well, cursing today is different than cursing back then. When they said cursing, it was about, no, it's about how do we represent Christ. You know how you know cursing is bad? Because in the Bible, and let me explain this. In the Bible, Jesus told Peter he was going to deny him 3 times. First time that Peter denied him, he's like, "Oh no, I don't know that man." Second time he denied him, I'm not sure who that is. The third time it says that he cursed. It says that he used a profanity and just and then said a profanity and said, "I do not know that man." The reason why that is so key is because that is signifying he said that word because he's trying to separate himself from what is godly. That word would make it clear that he's not of those church Jesus people. I don't know who those people are, right? Like our words, our language. And so I'll use myself as an example. Again, active duty Marine, everyone around me curses all day long. They'll say one sentence and somehow curse four. They'll say the F word 4 times in the same sentence. I was the worst of them. And you know what the funniest part is, guys? I was a hypocrite too. Because every time I would get on stage and speak, or sometimes even teach classes, I would never curse. And as soon as I press that red button, boop, and go off into my, talk to my wife, go talk to my friends, go talk to the Marines, effing, crapping, whatever. I'm telling you something, bro. I'm like, dude, I'm not happy with myself. And I literally repented. And I remember I was on the phone with a mentor of mine, and she's telling me, stop making excuses for your sin. No, what you're doing right now is you're making excuses for your sin. Your language is foul. You must stop that because you're going to have to answer to God. And as she's talking to me and I'm listening to her like ripping me apart, right? I like look over, my Bible's open, Book of Matthew chapter 15, verse 10. It's not what goes into a man's mouth that defiles him, but what comes out of a man's mouth that defiles him. As she's telling me this, I look over and I see the Bible verse and I knew the Holy Spirit was showing me something. That's when I was like, she's right. And immediately I said, I got to let you go. I have to hang up the phone. I hung up the phone. Boom. I was called to my hands and knees in total submission. And I just repented of that sin. And I ain't going to lie to you, son. It was one of the easiest things I stopped doing. I thought it would be impossible. But that moment of realization it froze me when I was like, it was a connection because here's the thing. I'm telling you the story. You didn't live that moment with me. You weren't getting reamed out by somebody you respected while simultaneously looking over and seeing the exact thing you needed to see. And then you felt goosebumps. You felt the spirit in you and you're like, I'm going to hell. So that hasn't happened to you. So it's going to be hard for you to take what I'm saying right now. I want to also cover another thing too. I only teach from this Bible. I'm not a pastor. I'm not perfect. So if I ever overstep, if I ever say anything crazy that is a little bit wrong, feel free to reach out to me on the back end and give me your opinion. I want you to know that. Okay. I just don't know how else to teach a man. This book is perfect. It's got everything I need to tell a man, to teach a man how to stop masturbating, to teach a man how to stop being angry, to teach a man how to stop beating his wife, to teach a man how to stop being lustful, to teach a man how to win in business, to teach a man how to do it. It's got everything. I'm not going to teach a book from some freaking liberal atheist to teach you how to do anything, right? Because the Bible tells us it's better to tie a millstone around my neck and drown myself in the depths of the sea than to lead one of you astray, to lead one of you far from God. So if you're like, oh, Max, my wife's really mean to me, I think I want to get a divorce. I'm going to tell you, don't do it. There's another way. A book might tell us if she's abusing you. Google might tell us if she's hurting your feelings, it might be time to give up. I'm not going to tell you that because that goes against the word of God. So how can I teach a man if it's not from the book, right? So just keep that in mind, all right? Let's keep it pushing, guys. All right, so there's your mouth. I want you to understand you need to have a standard for your marriage and your family. Let's talk about marriage, right? What is the standard for your marriage? Everything needs consistency. Everything. Some men give everything else their best. Their work, their gym, their business, their phone, their hobbies. But Ephesians 5:25, husbands, love your wives the way Christ loves the church and gave himself up for her. That's a serious standard. That's responsibility, sacrifice right there. So that's what we got to do. What about, listen, love expressed through action is the name of the game. Tonight, we're not talking about her. You cannot build a life around whether somebody else is meeting their responsibility. A lot of times men will sit here and say, well, she's not doing this. Well, she's not doing that. I got you. Her responsibility is hers. That's why when men join Genesis 90, or even some of you guys, look, some of you guys are here in the foundation. You really should be asking me questions about our premium program to get some one-on-one coaching. But we offer coaching for their wives. So if you are struggling with your wife, I will do one-on-ones with you. Our elders will do one-on-ones with you, and Debbie will do one-on-ones with your wife to build you together. Her responsibility is hers. Your responsibility is yours. So the question is, what kind of husband are you? Does your wife trust you? Not just sexually, emotionally, financially, spiritually. Like, does she trust your word? When you say you're going to do something, do you do it? Does she trust that you're telling the truth? Does she trust that you're controlling yourself? Does she trust that you will hear her without immediately becoming defensive? What is the standard for your marriage? Because if you have children, your standard is going to become their standard because they're watching you. You are teaching them what adulthood looks like. Your son is watching how a man speaks to his wife. Your daughter is watching what her husband looks like. If you yell at her mom, she's going to sit there and watch that. And then when she grows up, I want you to imagine your little girl being yelled at by some dummy. And you would kill this guy. You're like, I'm getting hot just thinking about it. I'm about to bash him in the head with this hammer, right? Like, no way. But you told her it's okay. See what I'm saying? Think about that stuff, guys. Right? You're always teaching. So even when you're not trying to, you're teaching. What are you showing them? That's why standards matter, because your decisions do not stop with you. The standard you should have, they should hear love in the house, man. They should see mom and dad kissing each other. They should see dad twirling around in the kitchen. They should see arguments or hear arguments that are controlled with good communication, calm voices, stern and fair, where both parties listen. They should be able to see two people who disagree greatly at that point overcome it and fall back in love moments later. They should see that. They should see a family dinner, a family movie night, popcorn. They should see it. So the last thing I want to cover here is the 10-year man. I want you to think bigger, 10 years from now. I want you thinking 10 years from now. And don't be one of those guys who's like, I don't know if I'll be here 10 years from now, right? Don't be that guy, right? I got you, right? I need you thinking 10 years from now. Not next month, not next year, 10 years, right? Some of your children will be adults. Some of you are going to have teenagers. Some of you may even have grandchildren. Your bodies may be 10 years older. Not maybe, they will be. Your marriage is going to have another decade behind it. Your career will be somewhere different, hopefully better. Your relationship with God will either be deeper or will have been neglected for another 10 years. You're either going to be in the best shape of your life or you're going to be somewhere in between. You're either going to be a better dad, better husband, better father, or you're going to be mediocre. You're either going to be a lot wealthier, making a lot more money, or you're going to be stuck still in that same small apartment trying to figure it out. Like, I don't know how to pay my car bill this month, my light bill. I don't know. Right? Time is moving either way. Psalm 90 says, teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Number your days, because you do not have an unlimited amount. There's two versions of yourself. The first man keeps doing what he's doing right now, and nothing changes. Nothing changes. Nothing terrible happens overnight, but let me tell you something. You don't even notice. But he gains a little bit of weight each year. His marriage gets a little bit more distant. He goes in and out of pornography, tells himself he needs to read more scripture, and eventually 10 years pass, and one day he looks around and realizes that his children grew up while he was distracted. Or even worse, you're dead. And now you have to look God in the face and say, I wish I had more time. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. But one man, the other man, he raises his standard. He starts governing what he sees to his eyes. He starts taking care of his body at the highest levels, even if it means just putting on those shoes, bro, and just going for a walk like I did today. If that's all you got, that's all you got. There's nothing wrong with it, bro. Put on 3 sweatshirts and go walk. You're going to sweat. It's going to feel good. Walk quickly. One man's going to learn how to communicate without exploding. He's going to invest in his marriage. He's going to read scripture. He's going to pray. He's going to get around men who are going to challenge him. He's going to become more disciplined with money. He's going to invest in himself. He's going to learn how to make difficult decisions. Is he going to fail sometimes? Absolutely. But 1 year passes, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and eventually people look at him and think, how did that guy become this man? Let me tell you something here. Any of you who take the advice of which I'm giving you right now, and you say, I'm going to be that man, 5 years from now, you could literally change the world. 5 years from now, you could become the pastor of the largest church in America. 5 years from now, well, maybe 10 years, right? 10 years from now, you could be a multi-millionaire that is building churches, spreading the gospel, changing lives, creating new technology. I don't care if you're 45 and tired, bro. Brother. Do you guys know that the average CEO is 58 years old? That the average, that means you could be older. The average millionaire, average, is 57 years old. So if you're here, you're like, I'm 46, I'm all washed up. There's nothing left for me. Right? Like, you're just wrong, dude. You're wrong. You are wrong. You got to decide. So tonight's about decisions. It starts with the foundation, though. That's why this is called Before the Apple, right? Before the fall of man, before the apple, foundation. We're building the foundation of our lives. That's what it's all about, guys. How are you going to build a foundation with the basics, your pornography, your lust, your relationship with your wife, right? The way you handle your money, those things. And then when you start to build this strong foundation on the rock, now, brother, we can build anything. We could build the tallest building in the world on that. That's what Jesus teaches us. Okay. What I'd like to do is 2 things. Number 1, I'd like to invite you guys, anybody who needs one-on-one coaching with me and my staff, consider the premium membership. Take a look at it later. Just hear me out. Number 2, let's open the floor for questions. Q&A. Here's the rules. Please make sure that whatever question you ask it in such a way that is brief. So that way everyone can go. Because I have a meeting that I have to do at 9:15. Okay? Floor is open. What do you got, Jerry? My man. I'm going to get to your message, by the way, bro. I saw that you messaged me. I just have not gotten to it, but I will.
No worries.
Well, why'd you message me in Signal, bro? What's so random? Like, what's up with that?
It's private.
Okay.
And I'm trying to keep it. It's business related.
Encrypted emails, top secret. This guy. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. My question to you is: there's a 2-part question. I'll be brief.
Okay.
What is more important, standards or systems? Because I get people, it grieves me, and I was counseling with a guy earlier today. His wife left him. And I was trying to tell him one of the systems that I have in place is I have a marriage counselor. Not because we fight, not because we're about to get a divorce, but because I want to make sure we don't get in that area. And she's 25 years younger than me and doesn't speak English. So
okay,
kind of like keeps us online.
So what's more important, standards or systems? If I had to put them in order of priority, I would put standards and then systems, because you can have the best systems in the world, but if you don't have the standards in which you're going to have the discipline to use those systems, for example, before the Apple Foundation, this is a system, right? This is a thing you use. This is a vehicle you can get in to help you. But if you don't have the standard of discipline to get on these calls, to dedicate yourself, to post, to reach new people, to do the homework assignments, to watch the videos in the classroom, right? So definitely standards, then systems. Okay, great. Who else? Anybody else? Or Jerry, you said it was a 2-part question. Is there a second part to that?
No, you answered it. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Any other questions? It could be about anything. It could be about your life, about marriage, whatever. Gio, what do you got, brother?
Hey guys, how's it going?
What's your thoughts about complacency?
Complacency.
Yeah, you see that man, we get used to the in a gray area where you don't move forward. I was very complacent about my marriage, my situation. I got used to not have any standard. And you're full of reason on the sentence. So accommodated, going back and forth in the same situation, getting used to fights, and make it up again. It was a horrible scenario.
Okay, so what's your question?
Your thoughts about how we can avoid the being complacent.
Okay. Yeah. So avoiding complacency. Well, first and foremost, we had to look at what complacency really is. Complacency is essentially staying in place, right? Like we are in place. We're not moving forward, not moving backwards. We're in complacency. Like we're complacent, right? So the first thing you have to do is you have to physically write what you want out of that marriage. Physically write what you want out of that business. Physically write what you want and have a direction so you can understand what the standard needs to be. So what direction am I trying to take this thing? So now that we have a full sight picture of what that is, well, we can move toward it now. I think that that's important. But the other thing is you have to ask yourself, why don't you want that? Why don't you want to move forward? Why do you want to be complacent? So you might need to examine the relationship in its foundation and whether or not there's still love there. But the best advice I have for anything, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your business, whether it's your current career that you're in, you're like, man, I just feel complacent at this job. Well, let's take a job, for example. If you're saying I feel complacent at this job, well, write down which position you would like. Well, I want to be a regional manager. Okay. Now, what steps do I need to have to be a regional manager? Well, what I know is I probably need this certification. I probably need to do that. Probably need to do this. Okay, got it. Well, let me go talk to my manager. Let's put a game plan together. Let's talk to the manager. Let's ask him what he needs to see from us to get this position. So now the next day, now I have a plan. So the next day I go talk to the manager and I say, hey, sir, you got 5 minutes? Yeah, sure. What's up, Max? Hey, sir, I've been here for 5 years and I'm really thinking about moving to the next level. What do I have to do to get promoted? Well, we want to see this. We want to see that. We want to see this. Okay, sir, thank you. I'm going to work on that. And I'm going to get that done. So now we have a plan. Now he knows we have a plan. Now we know exactly what to do. Now we could take that same application and put it toward a marriage. We say, babe, you got a few minutes to sit down? Yeah, okay. Listen, babe, I'll be honest with you. I've been feeling pretty complacent in our marriage. We haven't bought a house. We haven't had any kids. I'm not really sure what we're doing. What I would like to do is build a plan. Can we build a 5-year or 10-year plan together? I just want us to know where we're going. What do we want our finances to look like? Do we want to build a business? What's our dream? And now all of a sudden you guys build this end state. And then you can build the steps required to get there. Maybe that's first step is counseling, right? Maybe that first step is coming to the foundation and getting her with Debbie and you getting with me. Maybe that's the first step. And you build a love for each other. And then from there, you start building a business. And then from there, you start whatever. I don't know, right? But you have to have an end state and then you have to build the steps backward and you have to do it together. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thanks, sir.
Absolutely, brother. Good question, man. What else do we got, team? Anything. Really. And I'm not forcing it. If you don't have any questions, no big deal, right? That means it was a really good class, and I've really got you guys thinking. Here's the homework assignment, okay? Here's your homework for the week, all right? I want you guys, write this down. I want you guys to create a standard for the following items. You're going to write a standard for your marriage or your relationships. And if you don't have a marriage or relationship yet, you're going to put a standard for what you want it to be when you do have one. What is that standard for you? Where do you want to go with that? Who do you want to be? The second standard is going to be for your body. The second standard is going to be for your body in terms of physicality. What kind of man are you going to become physically? Who is that man? Build the plan. So we're not complacent, right, Gio? So we're not complacent with our body. So now we're complacent with our marriage. And then the last one we're going to do is we're going to build a standard. We're going to build a standard for our temperament. How we are going to communicate, how we want the world to see us, how we want the world to hear us. Maybe you're like me and you're like, I no longer want to use that foul language. We'll write it down. You say, hey, I no longer, like, what's the standard for maybe like when I walk into a room, I want people to see me a certain way, to hear me a certain way. I want to be that ominous kind of quiet figure that doesn't say much, but every time he does speak, it's like it really matters. Well, what does that guy do? How did we get to that point? Write those standards down. And then last but not least, you're going to write down a 10-year plan for your life. What is the 10-year plan for your life? What does that look like? That 10-year plan is going to be the thing that you start working on every single day. If you do those things, I promise you, you will succeed.